Hey, you guys. It is your boy Cam. Let's go full screen. Let's go full screen at first. Let's go full screen at first. What's up, you guys? It's your boy Cam, football frame of mind, with another episode of the Time Machine, man. We running through the 1970s. We started off with 1970. When this video comes out, this will be part two, and we'll get into probably 71 and 72 today. And we're gonna enjoy it, man. I love going back in history and seeing, basically how we got to this point. I find it fun to just relive the good of the NFL, right? NFL's still really good. Like, don't get it twisted. It's still fun to watch. It's a lot of good players. But back in the day when they were really soiling their royal oats, I think it was better, right? Now it's a lot more corporate, a lot more money involved, right? Specifically with the quarterbacks, things were a lot better. We had it so much simpler back then, right? But the players weren't taken care of as much as they should have been. So it's a double-edged sword. You want the good with the bad, or you want the bad with the good now, right? So you gotta take it what it is, right? But nonetheless, man, this is the time machine, and we're going back in time, and it's fun. But I need y'all to keep us growing. Like and subscribe to the channel, and keep on getting beautiful content like this. So, without further ado, let's get started, man. Let's get started. So, we start off with, well, let's talk about the 70s real quick. So, the 70s, obviously, um, John Brodie, who was John Brodie, quarterback of the 49ers throughout the 60s, was one of the best quarterbacks of the 60s, and continued his dominance through the 1970s as well. One of the best quarterbacks that really don't nobody talk about for real, you know. Um, and he wins the MVP in 1970. But as we get on into 1971, some very interesting things happened in 1971. So we're gonna get into it, but we got to start off with Alan Page. So forgive me, you guys. I'm actually making like shorts on the go too, but nonetheless, man, we got to start off with Alan Page, man. So Alan Page this year won league MVP, right? He won league MVP, and this is the first time in league history that a defensive player has won MVP. All right. So we got to put this into context, right? So, because this is a really big deal, right? You would think, oh my God, how does a defensive player win? Well, being pretty damn dominant, man. You look at the defensive players of look at the defensive players of this era, right? Paul Krause, you still got Claude Humphrey, you still got Ken Houston. Let's see, you got Bob Lilly. Let's see, I think Deacon Jones might still be playing. So all of those players didn't win MVP of the league. Just think about that. Just think about that for a minute. Like, think about that for a minute, man. Like, think about that for a minute, right? You get into a guy that didn't really have his best season. Like, Alan Page didn't have his best season statistically, if we talking sacks and everything else, until 1976, right? That would have been his best season, right? But in 1971, like, yeah, what's that? Like, in fact, I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year, maybe MVP in 70. 7 fumble recoveries, including a touchdown and everything. So I'm thinking he probably should have won the year prior. But I believe that momentum carried into 1971, in my opinion. But one of the greatest players ever on the defensive line, man. Flat out beast. Flat out beast. Oh, that didn't work. Oh well. Oh well, that'll be all right. Flat out beast, man. Flat out beast. But you gotta look at some things, man. Like, I mean, I just find it curious that he ended up with like 100, almost 150 sacks, man. That's crazy production, man. Especially from the defensive tackle position. That's crazy, man. But as we said, Alan Page definitely won. He won MVP of the league. John Brickington, Ohio State product, won Rookie of the Year, playing for the Green Bay Packers, man. Fullback as well, first team All Pro. So he did a lot of good, man, averaging 5 yards a carry and had a good 3-year run to start his career. So can't go wrong with that. Defensive Rookie of the Year was Isaiah Robertson, Southern. Shout out to the Jaguars out there. But he had 4 interceptions, 4 sacks, right, from the linebacker position. He was picked 10th overall, right? What was John Brick? 9th overall by the Packers. So they got some value to start off, right? So let's check out the standings, man. Let's check out the standings. Trying to think if any other teams was in here. So now the Saints, Bears. So nobody new joined yet. So that's cool. That's cool. But we gotta talk about the Dolphins at this time, because the Dolphins at this time in 1971 were, they were about to go on one of those journeys, man. Like, if you know your NFL history, you know the 72 Dolphins or the last and only undefeated team in NFL history, right? So you can see them starting to figure some stuff out. Talked about it in the last part. Their running back trio of Jim Kick, Mercury Morris, and Larry Zonka is the best trio in NFL history, flat out. Name a better trio, then we can talk. I doubt you'll find one. That's crazy. Imagine if Dan Marino had that. Unbeatable. Unbeatable, man. Unbeatable. So this is Don Shula's second season in Miami, after having a pretty good career coaching the Baltimore Colts. So I feel like in this scenario, he had some success and he know how to win. He knew how to win, right? And at this point, you needed a hellacious run game, and you needed all of that. You needed every bit of it. Every bit of it, right? And they kicked off stuff pretty good, man. I mean, 10-3, you win your division, right? And that's good. That's perfect, And once you like I said, once you get into the overall scheme of it, though, you realize that they were not to be messed with at this time, bro. Not to be messed with at all. So then we get to the AFC Central, won by Cleveland, right? The Chiefs, and a little bit of resurgence. And honestly, little bit of resurgence because after this season, they become very pedestrian. So this was kind of their last hurrah in a sense. You still got, I want to say, you still got Lynn Dawson on the team, right? Old man, 36, but still productive. Got all pro, got some MVP votes, pretty good interception to touchdown ratio, right? So you still got some talent, man. Otis Taylor still being one of the best receivers in the league, right? And you still got some good players on there, including Bobby Bell, 31, Buck Buchanan, 32, Curly Cope is now on the team, right? So you got some really Emmett Thomas is still there picking off passes left and right on his march to having at least 50 for his career. So you still got some really good talent on this team. But a lot of their Super Bowl team, their stars on their Super Bowl team, are getting older. It's getting older, man. So this was kind of their last hurrah. But you can tell their defense was really good at 14, almost 15 points a game. Offensively, they were still good, right? But like I said, they were just getting older. So, but you got to understand that they were really good, man. So we get to the NFC, the Cowboys, Minnesota, and the 49ers all win their division, right? 49ers at this time under Dick Nolan. I wonder if that's Mike Nolan's dad. Is that Mike Nolan's dad? Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to check that out. But you look at this particular team, right? And they still have John Brody, as I said. John Brody is one of the best passers of his time. You see Steve Spurrier is still the backup quarterback. But I really feel like he was more so like a punter than anything. But he did have a good season in 72, though. Yeah, he did have a good season in 72. So he got his start in 72. And then he got to play a little bit more in Tampa. Uh, they didn't win any games. They didn't win any games under Spurrier, man. But that's what happens, though. That's what happens, man. I'm just surprised that they picked him third overall, knowing that you got John Brody. I just still can't understand that, man. But Ken Willard, right? Um, Solid running back for them. Who else is on that team, bro? Yeah. Jimmy Johnson. Not the Jimmy Johnson that we know, but most certainly pretty good player, man. Pretty good player. Let's see. So the Vikings, I want to say Fran Tarkenton is back now. Is he back? No, he's not back yet. He's not back. But we getting there. We getting there to where not Jimmy Johnson, but Fran Tarkenton comes back. But Bud Grant, as I mentioned before, has Minnesota really good at this point. Like they are like Super Bowl contenders year in and year out at this point, right? Obviously, in the middle 70s, they have better success, including 3 Super Bowl appearances. But the fact that Bud Grant has these guys constantly in the mix is a good start. It's a real good start. So you look at the Los Angeles Rams, right? You see a couple, at least one name that I recognize off the rip, and that's Dick Vermeil. Like Dick Vermeil was the defensive, I want to say, what's that? No, quarterback coach for the Rams, right? And that's fitting. That's fitting because he ended up coaching in St. Louis. So, sometimes everything comes full circle, Comes full circle. So I like seeing stuff like that, man. Then he goes to UCLA for a few years, and then he gets the head coaching job of the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And then the craziest thing ever, he gets them to the Super Bowl. I want to say in 1980. He gets them to the Super Bowl with the best scoring defense in the league, and he retires. He just stops because he's burnt out at 46 years old, and then comes back at 61 years old and wins a championship with the St. Louis Rams, man. Absolutely crazy how his football life went. But the Rams in 71, got Roman Gabriel. He's 31 now. Kind of going out of his I'm not gonna say going out of his prime, but for lack of a better word, yeah, definitely going out of his prime. But still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if you really want to be honest. I mean, touchdown to interception ratio still good. He's once a league MVP. That was just 2 years ago, right? But you can tell that the Rams were struggling to keep pace with the NFL, man. They just kind of fell by the wayside after that for a little while. But nonetheless, man, you got the worst team in the league, who was the Buffalo Bills, right? So let's see the draft this year, right? So some very interesting names in here, right? So some names that would become league superstars, to be honest with you. You're looking at Jim Plunkett, right? Who, for a while, before he went to Oakland, was considered a bust. He was considered a bust. I mean, and not, I guess you'd say, not in the terms of like, oh my God, he was so bad. Because when you look at the numbers, right? You're looking at a guy that 19 and 16 got his team 6-8 when he started, right? The next season was terrible, right? Right, in terms of touchdown interception ratio, right? 8-25, right? But he wasn't the best. Wasn't the best. They didn't get what they thought they were gonna get out of him, right? But he goes to Oakland and has a career resurgence at 33, wins the Super Bowl. I want to say he's got 2. Yeah. So, and I want to say the Raiders won in like either 82, was it 82 or 83? Yeah, was it 82 or 83? One of those. Might have been 83. Yeah, 83. Yeah. So he's got 2 Super Bowls, right? So first round pick, that's why, I say kids, man, kids, adults, everybody, man, your journey's not over just because you fail at one thing, right? Keep going, try something else, right? Take Jim Plunkett, for example, right? Didn't work out with the Patriots, first overall pick. I wanna say he won the Heisman too. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he won the Heisman. Yeah, finished 8th the year prior. So that lets you know how good he was, right? But then you see Archie Manning from Ole Miss, right? Now Archie Manning had a rough run. Boy, did he have a rough run, man. The Saints were terrible. He was getting killed out there. But you know what? He still showed up. He still showed up. And then during this time, had 2 of the best quarterbacks in NFL history as kids. So you know, there's a plus to all of that, you know. Yeah, there's a plus to all of that. So you end up looking at Archie Manning's career and be like, damn, he was rough. I mean, look at that record, 35 and 101, right? But the Saints were terrible, and even though he had these bad seasons, he did okay. He tried his best. He definitely tried his best to get them out of the hole, man, including the 8-8 season and the 7-9 season, right? But then he gets, I want to say, traded to Houston, and by that time he's like a backup. But just seeing what he went through just to try to get them to relevant, you gotta applaud that, right? Dan Pastorini, right? He was with Houston for a while. I think he got into the Bum Phillip days, so that's interesting. Including 75 with a Pro Bowl. So yeah, so third overall, I like to say they got enough out of him for him not to be a bust. Now I can't say that Archie Manning was a bust. I can't say that. I can't say that at all because Archie Manning had to go through a lot. But you see John Riggins on the list, man. John Riggins, who was really good, but had a career resurgence himself later. He was damn good with the Jets, really good with the Jets. But I think we all know him with Joe Gibbs and the Redskins. I'll say it, the Redskins. And that's where he was really good. And then some first rounders, Jack Youngblood, who, argue with your mama, played in the Super Bowl with a broken leg, hairline fracture, uh, all the way broken. Argue with your mama. Anytime you play in a football game and your leg is broken, that's some legendary shit to me. So he did his thing. Jack Tatum. We all know Jack Tatum, man, one of the hardest hitting players in NFL history. Um, really good player for a very long time. Got him a Super Bowl. Definitely worth all of that. Definitely worth all of that, man. So yeah, man. Some Mizzou guy up there too. Joe Moore. Let me check him out. Mizzou. What he do at Mizzou? 11th overall about Bears. What he do at Mizzou? Big 8 conference. So you got 1,000 yards, and then you got 600 yards that last year. Yeah. Shit, if we could have left early, he probably would have left. But didn't have the longest career though. So he didn't amount to anything. But shout out to Beaumont High School, bro. Shit. He went to Beaumont High School. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I fucks with that. Yeah. Hell yeah. St. Louis, Missouri. Joe Moore. Go on with your bad self, man. All right. So now that we've went through the standings, we went through the MVP, the award winners. Let's look at some stats from 71. Let's look at some stats, man. So your passing leader was John Hadle. Or I hope I'm saying that right. But one of the more underrated passers in NFL history. Got a couple of league leading seasons in passing yards in the 60s in the AFL. San Diego for a long time. So this would have been his second to last season with the Chargers. Got an all pro, got some MVP votes, man. Interceptions is out of this world, but did pretty good, man. And as we get deeper into the 70s, you'll see how they just kept passing the ball very well. Very well. So that's always good. That's always good. But he led the league in passing, followed by John Brody. We talked about him. Um, right. We got what's up? My show right now. Doesn't matter. I'm still working. No, I'm not. Anyway, so you go Fran Tarkington, right? Another Hall of Famer. Len Dawson, another Hall of Famer, and then Bill Nelson from Cleveland, right? So Cleveland, obviously, they ended up losing. Greg Cook. I want to say they ended up losing Greg Cook at some point. I want to say that might have been 68. 68. No, damn, what year was that? No, I lied. That's not Cleveland. That's Cincinnati. My bad. But they ended up losing Jim Brown at earlier in the 60s, right? He retired early. But Bill Nelson, is one of those quarterbacks that nobody really talks about. I mean, obviously not the biggest name, but getting Cleveland to a 9-4 record is crazy good, right? Crazy good this time, especially coming, I want to say coming from Pittsburgh, right? Who obviously moved on because they got somebody on this list, Terry Bradshaw. So, right, they moved on at a certain point. It's like, hey, we got to get better. Got to get better. So, um, but they moved on. And you look at a lot of this, right? You look at a lot of these names on here, right? Fran Tarkenton is still on there. Like I said, Fran Tarkenton goes to the Giants, but it's an okay thing. It's an okay thing. Right? I mean, obviously he makes the Pro Bowl, continues to be one of the league's best quarterbacks in ever. But my apologies. Yeah. But obviously he was still damn good. Still damn good. Right? Then he comes back to Minnesota and just continues to be real good, right? So there's a lot of guys on this list, man. You got Earl Morrall still doing his thing with Baltimore. Got Archie Manning trying to do his thing in New Orleans. You got Craig Morton trying to do his thing in Dallas, but he's not the guy anymore. That belongs to Roger Staubach, right? Let's see some other names on here, man. Joe Namath, right? Not the best season. I want to say he's probably injured because he's still 28. George Blanda, Jack Cannon, right? But you look at the Raiders in 71, man, and there is a very important name on this list. That name is Kenny the Snake Stabler. Okay? So anybody that's watched college football knows that Ken Stabler was one of those guys. Okay? Ken Stabler was pretty good. All right. And in an era where they didn't necessarily in an era where they didn't pass the ball very much, specifically at Alabama. In Alabama, they ran the ball pretty good, man. They ran the ball pretty good. And that's kind of what it was, right? But Ken Stabler is still a national championship quarterback, and he had a pretty good season. I mean, right? Like I said, accuracy wasn't the thing back then. It wasn't the thing back then, so we weren't necessarily worried about that. But still, Ken Stabler was one of those guys. Look at his record as a quarterback, man. He was a winner. He won a lot, right? Not his first season, right? But he ain't really getting no clock in year one, right? But year two, he played in a couple games, but definitely didn't do what you thought he was going to do. You didn't see that, right? But you can tell, right? He's in the league and he's about to take off, right? And then you got Bart Starr in here. Bart Starr still playing. This would become his last season in the NFL, right? Hell of a career, hell of a champion, hell of a quarterback. So I'm pretty sure he wish he would have went out a little bit better than 0-2-1, right? But can't deny the legacy there, right? So let's see. So Hadel was the leader in touchdowns. Let's see, and interceptions, but yards per game too. But we can't move on without talking about Bob Griese. All right. So Bob Griese is one of my favorite quarterbacks of the 70s, right? Including winning some Super Bowls and everything, right? But he's really getting into his bag right now, right? He's been one of the best quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, should I say, in the league. And you could tell he's starting to figure some stuff out, starting to slow down, right? 1970 was a success, 10-4, right? Not the best touchdown interception ratio, but he's starting to slow down for him. And I feel like 71 is slowed down completely. Like now I'm really that guy. 19 touchdowns, interceptions, looking pretty, looking real good, looking really, really good, right? And as we get into the playoffs, you'll see how good he really was, right? But one of my favorite quarterbacks of this era, man. But let's get into some running backs. So Floyd Little, one of the underrated Syracuse running backs, right? One of the best running backs in Denver history, and they had a lot. But this was his best season. Best season, Pro Bowl, everything. Did it all, right? 80 yards a game, 1,006 touchdowns. So this was his best season, flat out. And a good 4-year stretch, to be honest with you. So John Brockington, 1,000. Larry Zonka, remember what I told y'all. Mercury Morris, Jim Kick, Larry Zonka. Flat out. The best trio in NFL history. Right? And Larry Zonka was a man. He was a beast. Right? Didn't carry the ball much because obviously, like I said, you're sharing it with 3 guys. But he still got 1,000 yards. That's how you know he was a bad man. Right? Then we get into Larry Brown. Right? He was in Washington with the Redskins. Yep, he ended up getting MVP. I remember that. Yep, so he had a pretty good run. Let me see. Dwayne Thomas in Dallas, he was really good. O.J. Simpson is doing his thing. Like I said, Jim Kick is on there. He's 700 yards, right? Mike Garrett, Heisman winner, USC, right? He ended up getting some pretty good yardage that season. So, right? And he's on a different team now. So that's how you know good he was. Let's see who else on that list, man. Let's see anybody else on that list. Roger Staubach, 300 yards, man, at the quarterback position. That's pretty good. Bobby Douglas, I told y'all, most rushing yards by a quarterback. His record stood until 2000 something when Michael Vick broke it. So that lets you know. Tucker Frederickson still on that list. So some pretty good names. Cannonball Butler, shout out to him. My boy Andrew probably happy about that because he a Falcons fan. I'm sorry, I like that name, bro. Cannonball Butler. Like, I like that name, bro. But OJ Simpson at this time hasn't gotten into his bag yet. Right? Hasn't gotten into his bag yet. But you can tell he's good. Buffalo just ass right now. Buffalo is not a good football team right now, man. In fact, in 71, they only won one game, right? But Tom Flores is now coaching. He's a quarterback's coach. He ends up coaching the Raiders to their second Super Bowl after John Madden gets there, I want to say. But 72 is where we really start to see OJ Simpson take off, right? But hold on, one more thing. Let me see. Rushing touchdown. So that's Dwayne Thomas. Okay. All right. Now let's see some receiving. Man. All right. So reception leader is Fred Biletnikoff. He's 28 at this time. Like I said, children. At the end of the college football season, there is a award for the best receiver in college football. That is the Fred Biletnikoff Award, named after this guy. And this guy was good, man. Started in the 60s in the AFL, but turned into a pretty good-ass receiver, man. Like, he was legit. It seemed like when you watch his film, you would think, man, this guy, he can't be this good. Oh boy, you tripping. And he was good, man. He was good as hell. Like I he don't get the love he deserves, but I'm glad people get to see his name on the award for college, the best collegiate receiver, because he deserves it, right? Then you got Paul Warfield, right? He's in Cleveland for a while, but really came. I don't say really came into his own because he was good with Cleveland too, but people really like, hey, Paul Warfield, one of those ones with the Dolphins because it came a bigger name as the NFL merged and things like that. So, like, he's one of the best receivers ever. But with the Dolphins, he was turning up on them. Right, you still got Bob Hayes and his 20 yards per catch. We talked about that. I said he was only 4 yards away from 1,000. You gotta get him the ball. We need to get that. Need to get him there, man. But Paul Warfield also led the NFL in touchdowns too. So let's see. And Charlie Joyner. Yeah, Charlie Joyner. Gremlin. Yeah, Charlie Gremlin. Yeah, 24. Starting to make some noise out here. Yeah. I remember Charlie Joyner more so with the Chargers than anything, but it's good to see he was with the Oilers and he was with Cincinnati for a little bit, but then he had a late resurgence though of his career. He started turning up at 29 with the Chargers, man. Is that under Dan Fouts? Is Dan Fouts there? Yeah, Dan Fouts is there. Yeah, so that changed everything. Yeah, Dan Fouts was like, shit, go down there and catch that motherfucker, man. I'll throw it. Bro, oh my God. When we get into Dan Fouts and shit, whew, when the fuck did Dan Fouts come in the league? When did Dan Fouts come in the league? Let me go back to that. I want to see when he came into the league. Dan Fouts was at 73, so that's next year. Okay, cool. But boy, did he change San Diego, man, for the better. Oh my God. He turned them into something serious. But Charlie Jordan's on the list. He's one of those ones. Merlin Briscoe, we talked about him. He played quarterback for a minute. And it's like, dude, you too damn good to play that. Let's try you at receiver. And boy, did it work. Let's see, Dave Parks, one of the best receivers of the 60s, first round pick, now tight end. So that's a mismatch because he's pretty damn good. Roy Jefferson had a nice run with the Steelers. Let's see, Charlie Taylor, one of the best players of the 60s, still getting it in. Still with the Redskins, still with the Skins, man. Like I said, all 60s team as he should have been. Like I said, one of the best players of the 60s. Let's see, anybody else on there that really stands out? Let's check yardage first. Let's do yardage. Anybody else that stands out for the most part? Let's see. Anybody else that was starting? Don Maynard still playing, 36. Right, also one of the best players of the 60s. I'm surprised he didn't make the all 60s team. God damn. Because he was good as hell. Let's see, Jackie Smith. Still one of the best tight ends ever to play. Still with St. Louis. Hasn't joined Dallas yet. But still one of the best receivers out there. Let's see. Mike Ditka still playing. One of the best players of the 60s. Most certainly. Told y'all one of the revolutionary players of the tight end position. But that's pretty much it right there. Let's look at some defense, man. And then we'll see if we can squeeze 70, 72 in here. Let's see if we can squeeze 72 in here. But probably not though. Probably not. But you gotta talk about Bill Bradley. Okay. Gotta talk about Bill Bradley. A 3rd round pick in 69. Balled the fuck out. He's honestly a punter too. A pretty good one at that. So he's a punter first and then play defense. Boy, the 70s was crazy. So he's an all-pro punter and an all-pro defender. One of the best stretches you can have for a defensive player, bro. 11 picks, 9 picks, all-pro. Like, that's crazy work. He's giving work out there. Ken Houston was giving work. Emmett Thomas was giving work. Paul Krause was giving work. 6 interceptions. He just keeps stacking them motherfuckers. Just stacking it. 8, 7, 5, 6, 6, 6. We getting in his best season besides his first season, which is crazy. Like, what the Redskins was thinking? Why would you get rid of him? He had 12 interceptions in year 1. What are you doing? But his best season with Minnesota definitely came in terms of interceptions, 75. One of the best, man. Dick LeBeau, 35, still doing this thing. 34. Herb Adderley, 32. Let's see, man. That's what's up. Dick Buckus is in this thing, man. Mel Renfro, Jack Tatum, 4. Larry Wilson, 33, still doing his thing. Let's see who else in that thing, man. Yeah, Dave Robinson, one of the underrated players with the Packers. A three-time NFL champion. Yeah. Let's see. Cedric Hardman, man. Let's talk about Cedric Hardman. Okay, so first round pick, ninth overall, 1970. Ended up with 18 sacks in his second season, right? 9, 8, 10, 14. Wow, that's crazy. One of the best. One of the best. Is he a Super Bowl champion too? He did. He lasted with he went to Oakland and got his first title. Okay, cool. He's still putting up 9 sacks at 32, so that's good production. 100 sacks altogether. That's crazy. And he's not even mentioned of a Hall of Famer? What? 100 sacks is crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, he got 2 Pro Bowls, but I mean, I can imagine the 49ers weren't that good around this time. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, so I mean, I guess when your team's not that good, you're not gonna get you're not gonna get too much like votes on like Pro Bowls and things like that. But he definitely showed out. 18 sacks, and remember, sacks weren't official till 82. So this could be up and down, man. But shout out to the dog, Claude Humphrey, my boy Andrew, being a Falcons fan. I gotta ask him how good Claude Humphrey was, man, because I'm pretty sure he remembers. Because Andrew always says I'm old, so I'm gonna see how old he really is if he remember that shit. Because that's his production was crazy. Jethro Pugh had a lot of sacks, man. They gotta revisit some of this shit because you can't tell me this stretch right here didn't get him in the Hall of Fame, bro. Like 67 to 71. I don't even say 72 to be honest. He's one of the best. But he got 2 Super Bowl rings, so I think he's cool. I think he's cool. Alan Page, obviously, we talked about him being a MVP of the league, the first defensive player to win MVP. Bubba Smith, right? So like we got a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot, man. So Carl Eller being really good. Deacon Jones still playing. Marilyn Olsen still playing. So there's some good stuff in there, man. Jack Youngblood still on there. Yeah. See anybody else on here that got a little bit of shine? A little bit. Bobby Bell with a sack and a half. Ray Nitschke, 35, 1971. Still on the list. Still doing this thing, man. Still playing. Nick, I forgot how to say his name, man. But Nicholas Anthony B. He was with the Patriots for a while, but definitely did his thing. He definitely did his thing, man. Let's see, Leroy Jordan. Is that my Leroy Jordan? Yeah, it is my Leroy Jordan from Alabama. Yes, it is. 6th overall. Nice. Hell yeah. Played with Dallas for a while, bro. 5-time Pro Bowler. Yeah, so he's 30 at this time now. But he had some good run. Let's see. Who else on the list? Anybody else that stand out? I don't see nobody. So, all right. So let's go up. Let's talk about the playoffs, man. All right. Let's get to the playoffs. So, as I mentioned before, just a little refresher as we get into the playoffs. We got Miami, we got Cleveland, we got Kansas City, we got Dallas, Minnesota, and San Francisco. And the Redskins, well, those were your division winners, but the Colts and the Redskins are your wild card teams basically. So let's see how it went. All right, so the playoffs is set Now, let's get into it. So, let's talk about the first. Let's talk about the. Let's go here. Let's go here. All right. So the Dolphins take on the Chiefs. Right. Really good game. Won in overtime. By said Dolphins. Right. So really good game. Chiefs storm out to a 10-point lead. Right. And then the Dolphins storm back to tie it at 10 at halftime. The Chiefs take the lead again, and then the Dolphins, with their hellacious backfield, continue to cause havoc, right? And then the Chiefs score again, making it 24-27, and then the Dolphins tie it up. Bob Greasy touchdown pass to send it to overtime, and then Garo Yepremian wins it, right? Good game. That's how you know the Chiefs, this was their last hurrah, man. Last hurrah. Len Dawson went out gunning, right? Played a pretty good game when you think about completion percentage and shit like that. He played pretty good. Without an interception or two, they probably win this game. And you got a lot, man. You got a lot to think about, man. They ended up with, a lot more rushing yards, in my opinion, in this game. Kansas City dominated on the ground, but they lost this game with the turnovers. That's what lost them this game. They would have beat Miami because they played a really good game. But when you turn the ball over, that's what happens. So let's check out Dallas. So Dallas in this particular game, Dallas in this particular game did what they do, man. Play good defense, man, and run the ball at this particular time, man. But you got a quarterback that can help you supplement the running game too, right? Roger Staubach, I want to say this is his first postseason game. And he played pretty damn good, man. He picked them apart. And only passed the ball 14 times. Right? Pick them apart, man. Like I said, Minnesota was going with a two quarterback system or something, and it didn't work. First quarterback was horrible. Then the second quarterback was pretty bad too. So it was rough for them, man. They couldn't do nothing on the ground. Dwayne Thomas had 66 for a touchdown. So yeah, they wasn't gonna win this game, bro. The Dallas was just too much. And what's crazy is Minnesota picked up a lot of first downs, and they still couldn't do it. But I think what did them in more certainly than anything was turnovers. But even how crazy that was, the turnovers in this particular game, they still had a chance to win late. They still had a chance to win if they wouldn't turn the ball over. So you think about the game, like, we had halftime, and it's only 6-3. But Dwayne Thomas and Roger Staubach, they do their thing and they pull away. But the Vikings, stayed in it, but ran out of time. But Dallas goes on to the next round. So then we got the Baltimore Colts taking on the Cleveland Browns, who have changed their logo now. And, the Baltimore Colts do their thing. Jim O'Brien makes a couple field goals. But Nottingham tore them up with 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnny Unitas, who playing still at 38. Was that 38? Which is surprising. I don't understand why he playing per se. Let me see something real quick. So 71 the Colts make the playoffs, right? Okay, so they make the playoffs. They beat Cleveland, and Earl Morrall starts a bunch of the games. But why did Earl Morrall not? I gotta figure out why he didn't, why he wasn't playing in this game for real. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand why he's not playing in there. So this is Johnny Unitas. No, this is the 71 Colts. Johnny Unitas played in he played in 5 games. Well, he played in all of them and started 5 of them. But I want to know what happened. So Johnny Unitas. So at some point, I guess Earl Morrall got hurt because Johnny Unitas is playing in week 14, and Johnny Unitas is playing in week 13, and then Johnny Unitas is also playing in week 14. Right? Yeah. So it's from week 9. Okay. So Earl Morrall must have gotten hurt because I can't see you just starting Johnny Unitas just because. You know what I'm saying? I can't see that anyway. But nonetheless, the Colts beat up on the Browns, and then San Francisco under the George Allen has finally. I want to say George Allen. George Allen is in his first season and under with the Redskins, and they make the playoffs in year 1. That's pretty damn good. But they got to go against John Brodie, and John Brodie wasn't having that. You know he gonna come out gunning, right? He passed the ball 19 times, 2 touchdowns, good passer rating. Yeah, he was in his bag in this game, bro. He was in his bag. Couple touchdowns. Yeah. But the Skins still had a shot. They still had a shot, man. So they still had a shot. So let's get into it. Let's get into some more playoffs, man. So let's get into some more playoffs. So we was in a divisional round. So let's go to the conference. So you're looking at the Cowboys and 49ers. One of the greatest rivalries in NFL history, man. And the Cowboys playing defense like they do. Shut down John Brodie, man. Forcing 3 interceptions. You know, he just couldn't get it done. But Roger Staubach didn't have the best game. But they could run the ball better. And they made the plays in the passing game, man. They shut them down. Bro. Shut them down. Forcing turnovers, getting sacks, everything. Dallas was playing some defense, man. So then we go into the AFC Championship game. The Colts going against Miami. So if you've been watching the series long enough, you know that Don Shula was the coach of the Colts. So I can tell you he was probably turned up from this. He might have not said it. He might have not said it publicly. But I know he was turned up for this one because the Colts, you know, for lack of a better word, probably got rid of him. He's like, nah, man, I'm going to show y'all. And boy, did he. The Colts didn't score a point. Bob Greasy was in his bag, throwing to Paul Warfield, Dick Anderson with an interception return, and Larry Zonka in the fourth quarter probably just crushed their spirits, man. You know, Johnny Unitas, Maybe this was his last really taste of, his last taste of success in the NFL. But it was a nasty taste, man. But Bob Greasy, man, only passed the ball 4 times. I mean, 8 times and 4 completions for a touchdown. Crazy, crazy, man. But you see the backfield, man. Mercury Morris only got a carry, but Kick and Zonka, that's all you needed in this one. That's you just beat them up, and that's exactly what happened, man. So this sets the stage for the Super Bowl. Oh, Super Bowl this was Super Bowl 6. This sets the stage for Super Bowl 6, and this was, the I'm not gonna say the coming out party. I'm not gonna say the coming out party for Tom Landry, but this would what made him into one of the best coaches of all time, right? Obviously, I felt like he was one of the best coaches of all time anyway, up until this point, because building Dallas from literally nothing. Dallas was nothing when he got there, zero. They lost all the motherfucking games. That might be the first winless season. Maybe not ever, because there's some bad expansion teams, but probably out of the prominent teams, that's probably the first like one that was like, oh shit, you lost all your games. But I felt like for him to build up Dallas up until this point to get them to the Super Bowl in 70, right? To fight to get an NFL title against the Packers in the 60s, right? That made you one of the best coaches in the game. And for them to lose the Super Bowl the year prior, right? To lose the Super Bowl to the Colts, right? In the fashion in which they did, to the point where like your player on your team wins the Super Bowl MVP, but you lose Super Bowl. Mind blowing. Like that's some Jerry West shit. You the best player in the finals, get the finals MVP, but you don't get no ring. Crazy. I can't imagine that. But dude who won played one hell of a game. He got 2 interceptions, and they won on a game-winning field goal. So that lets you know. That lets you know what's up, man. Um, but Tom Landry did this was what cemented him as an NFL legend, getting his first Super Bowl in 1971, the season of 1971. So let's go through the game, man. Super Bowl 6 played in Tulane Stadium in New Orleans. Don Shula versus Tom Landry, two of the best coaches of their era, definitely. And they duke it out, man. But Mike Clark gets a field goal. Lance Allworth, right? The Lance Allworth from the San Diego Chargers, one of the greatest receivers in the history of the NFL, in the history of the AFL. One of the best. Playing with the Cowboys, gets him a Super Bowl, gets a touchdown in this game, right? Roger Staubach, obviously. Garo Upremian makes a field goal, right? You're thinking, all right, well, we're going to halftime. We got some momentum. The Cowboys come out. Dwayne Thomas gets a touchdown, right? That pretty much kills your spirit. And then Mike Ditka, old man Mike Ditka. This is not his last season, his second to last season. And he gets a touchdown in the Super Bowl, man. Roger Staubach continues to ball out, which he did pretty much all playoffs. And he wins Super Bowl MVP. I believe that his only one. Yeah, that's his only one. But win Super Bowl MVP in dominant fashion, man. Bob Greasy didn't have the best game. And the Cowboys stopped that running game. That's what they did. They stopped it, man. Even though it was like 4 yards of carry, you ain't doing too much considering how both of them guys played. Kick with 700 yards and Larry Zonka with 1,000. Like, that's just crazy. You stop Paul Warfield and everything. Chuck Howley, he's Super Bowl MVP, and now he gets the ring. Larry Jordan gets one. Herb Adley gets another one. This makes he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion and a 5-time NFL champion. So he's a winner. Jethro Pugh gets his first Super Bowl, I want to say. So Mel Renfro gets one. Dwayne Thomas gets one, who actually becomes a important figure as they move into the 70s. Still one of the best. So yeah, most definitely, dog. Super Bowl 6, man, won by the Cowboys, man. So as the Cowboys go on in the history of their team, the 70s was a pretty good time for them. It was a pretty good time for them, including 2 Super Bowls, and 2 Super Bowl victories, and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Super Bowl appearances. So the 70s was pretty good for them. Roger Staubach was one of those ones. Like, he's good as hell. And he staked claim to the job, man. I mean, what can you say? Like, he was the guy. He was like Captain America almost. That's basically what he was if you're talking about America's team. So Cowboys in 70, 71 survived the gauntlet, man. They survived the gauntlet that was 1971, and they won it all, man. They won it all, man. So, we're going to get into 1972 when we get back. This was one of those seasons, man. A season for the ages. A season that, staked claim to one of the best ever. One of the best teams ever. So we'll break down 1972 on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this part 2 of this series. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to get into 1972. One of my favorite seasons to study. One of my favorite seasons to talk about. Talked about it with my pops so much all the time. He would talk about the 72 Dolphins like he knew it like the back of his hand. He loved that team. I love to talk about that team per se. But this is the Football Frame of Mind Time Machine, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe either. Peace.